Hello everyone, hello, Katie here, and if you're just joining me on this journey, I am 6 months into creating a fancy sticker book. So this is a 2025 A5 compact, and I am putting 2024 sterling ink stickers in here to play with layouts and just try different things. So I will link these down below. And so now we're halfway through and starting July. So this is where I last left everything. And July is the next part here. This is the biggest sticker I had. And what I've done so far, so this will be kind of two parts that I put together in one video, but I wanted to show it before the pen, just because sometimes it can be easier to understand the layout. Like, I don't know, for me, it does help to see before and after the pen, just because there's just more visual clutter. So what I did was kept it really simple. I had a ton of these type of strips. Now this was for June, and this is what I had left over. But basically, I used this much of the strips, and I'll show you why this looks a little weird. And I had all 5 weeks of the days of the week, and then I had, so this was the one that's in the monthly part, and then I had 5 stickers here that I placed all on the bottom. And so I thought, you know what, I haven't done a layout much like, I think mainly it comes from Erin Condren. I've never used those planners, but I've seen the layout a lot where you have 3 sections. And so I basically use the strips up and mark the 10 and the 6, and it's not going to mean 10 or 6, but that's just where I place them. It was easy for me to do that. They're not equal, but that's just what it felt right to me in the moment. So I put the days of the week, mixed them up a little bit, and then put these in the bottom. And I wanted to try some in the middle here. It's a very interesting palette also. You know, it's, you have like baby tomatoes, you have some purples and yellows and big green leaves and pinks, and then some purple and pink like scribbles. It's very interesting. This is, I don't know if you can see it right now, but if you get closer to this, these are all scraps of the stickers in between. I ran out of the actual stickers, and I'm like, well, let me just try. And I know this one here is a little uneven. I could fix that a little bit, but because the other one here I lined up mostly. But yeah, I just tried to piece them together, and I started on the wrong, sorry, there was a little thing there. I started on the wrong page. I was actually putting them in August, and I had to like lift them back up. And so that's why this one is kind of normal. And I also wanted to put the big sticker here to kind of signify the end of the month, or maybe going into August, I don't know. So the other part, oh, here, it kind of got covered up here. I put a bunch of little strips vertically. There's a certain point here where it gets fuzzy, but if you can see, I kind of mashed them all, and they're not perfect. I did this just sitting in my bed. Like, it's not anything where I measured it out. Oh, and yeah, there was a couple up here too. Now, those blended in a little bit more, but you can see they're there. But like from a distance, you can't really see them. So I wanted to show this, and I kind of want to see which one I like the best. Honestly, I don't think I like this one or this one as much. I actually like this one a lot, where you can have like your days of the week stuff here and have some to-do lists up there. And this one, you can kind of do the same and have like 2 separate to-do lists. So we'll see. So this is before I really jumped in and imagined this persona, because the other half of this is that I am looking back upon myself and seeing what dreams I've had along the way. And I'm going to disclose that after I get this all filled out, but I just kind of wanted to show you the structure I gave it, which is the 3 section structure. And I'm kind of still mulling that over of like, how is that going to look? But yeah, just wanted to show you that I got this far. And then, you know, by the power of magic, we're going to show it all finished. I was very, very close to using these 2 strips. These are 2 wide ones, and there is a tiny little bit there, but these were the wide ones. I thought, well, why don't I use them on the this here? But then I saw the in-between parts, and they were, you know, they were in the color palette. They had little bits of the tomatoes and, you know, everything on there. And I'm like, I think I just want to do it this way. And yeah, it became a little wider over here. And that's okay. I think I had 3 strips here and 4 over here. But yeah, my goal to use up all these stickers. And what I'm also thinking is I do have like a couple strips of things. I don't know if I'm going to use them in the back, or there may be another month in here that just needs a little help. So I'm kind of keeping those around. But yeah, that's kind of what I've done so far. And it's not going to be, I'm not going to put as much as I did last time with all of this writing. I loved the writing. I love that persona. This is a very different one. The tomatoes are really drawing me. I didn't like this set very much, but now that I'm seeing it, like the strips themselves are so dynamic, especially if they're kind of mosaiced together. But there's so much in just this little strip. You really don't need much. I was really afraid of this month because it felt like I did, like I needed, like I barely had anything for it. Now the trick will be kind of what I do here, because I only have like this left. Maybe I'll use this. I don't know. So that'll be, you know, what's coming up next here. And I got to get my imagination going for this. So yeah, let me know what out of all of these, what your favorite is before I've written out everything. And yeah, I'll return back with this all filled out. Okay, and welcome back. I had a lot of fun putting this July together. I feel like I could have a lot of imagination with this one because it did have to do with taking care of animals. So this persona is someone who, this is a version of myself, who decided to live in the Lake District in the UK. And I have visited, and it's beautiful. My goodness, it's beautiful. And I also have been watching some animal sanctuary videos in the past year, and I'm fascinated by that. So I thought, well, maybe I could combine those and be taking care of some of these small animals that they have found in the area and nurse them back to health, or just let them grow more because a lot of them were babies here. And on the side note, I enjoy playing Magic the Gathering, and especially the online version. And one of my favorite sets in that game in the past few years has been a set called Bloomborough, which was all about animals. There was mice, there was foxes, there was raccoons, bats, bunnies, all sorts of animals throughout the whole thing. And I keep playing that one over and over again. So I kind of felt like all of that kind of weaved together. And so I set up sanctuary shifts that, you have to have overlap in areas so that you're kind of handing it off to the next person. To be honest, I don't know if this is a paid or volunteer position, but I was doing it a lot. So I'm assuming it's paid or they're covering where I'm living. I'm not going to get into those details, but again, it's a fantasy self. And so I pictured these shifts, and I'm an evening person into the night. And so I figured, why don't I have some evening hours? Now, when I first set this up and put these 3 dividers all the way through, I thought I would use this more as 3 sections. And I kind of do, but then I kind of hybridized it with still using the hours here, because when you have an overnight and when you have different shifts going on, I still needed to see those. So here it's a 6 to 12:30 because all the shifts are like 6 to 12, 12 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 6 with a half hour like overlap so you can hand it off to the next person. And I don't know how many people are working there, but that's kind of what it is. And then having the hours up here and then having 2 days off, which is important, but doing 1 overnight a week. And that was, going from midnight to 6 a.m., ending at 6:30, and then putting in some hours here for rest. So taking either sleeping in a bit more on a Friday morning so that I could do the overnight. And then I did realize I had a little bit of a squish here where I was going back at 6 p.m. to a midnight here. So just making sure I rested a lot of the day so I was fresh there. So, a lot of people have schedules that kind of do this. And I always do kind of wonder how they use, if it's a vertical that they use or just on their phone or something. But and if you are someone who uses definitely these evening hours into the morning, or do you shift these numbers so that it's the opposite? So this is actually evening hours and morning hours. If you do overnights, I would love to hear. But anyway, so this is the part I didn't plan on. I really wanted to see these line up. And then I also had, some things throughout the day, but it would kind of run into this area. So it's not 100%. There is where is it? Dentist appointment I have at 11 a.m. and I wanted to put that there, and it is on the day off. But ideally, if you do have you're going to have some appointments in the afternoon. So I don't know how that would work. You could probably shift these up here and flop these, but for some reason, I just felt like this layout just worked for my brain. And so it's a bit unrealistic in that sense where, you could have more. If you're using this timeline, you could definitely have more going on in this center section. So I have my shift times here, and I did them in 24-hour time because it definitely makes more sense if you're doing overnights or if you're definitely going over midnight. And because all the shifts are 6 to 12, 12 to 6, and you could easily get that mixed up. So anyway, it starts out with animal names. So I had to give some animal names. So Fletcher is a tawny owlet. We have 3 squirrel kits, Hazel, Pip, and Rowan. And then we have another couple animals showing up later. So Fletcher is doing really well at 6 weeks here, and actually progresses into doing so towards the end of this week, getting ready to leave. And then the squirrel kits come, they're 5 weeks, and I say, you know, they're at the handover, so they came sometime in the afternoon, and then I don't feel like in this scenario I'm the only one there. I don't know. That's not something I really go into. It could be that the sanctuary is sparse enough they only have like one person there 24 hours, like as they cycle through people, or there could be a second person there. The sanctuaries that I'm watching, there's multiple people, especially if they're small little ones that they're taking care of. I loved watching this one. Maybe I'll link it below if I can find it. But these ladies were all sitting around feeding different babies, and there were so many of them, right? Like, this is just a couple. But they had many, many other baby animals. And so they definitely had to have like 3, 4, 5 people on staff. And it's round the clock feedings. It's not like, you know, they can just sleep and go 12 hours without food. So anyway, so I talk about like each one of them. First time I did the feeds overnight with them, and they're gaining, and then cleaning Fletcher's enclosure, and then, you know, having a Sunday off to walk in and clean the bathroom and kitchen, laundry, groceries, that kind of thing. Down here, this is just kind of mundane stuff down here: groceries, paying bills, picking up formula and syringes and things. But the main thing is just this middle area of how the animals are doing, which is what I wanted to experiment with. Let's see if I'll tilt that a little bit. Pip is taking formula better. All 3 are gaining steadily. Fletcher increasingly alert during feeds, starting to show natural behaviors. And then the hoglets come. So the hoglets are the hedgehogs. And so they are named Nettle and Bramble, and they're at 3 weeks. And they're so tiny. And so they settled in. So we have Fletcher and the kittens, the squirrel kits, and then the hoglets. And yeah, I kind of keep track of like, they're at 3 weeks. The squirrels are at 6 now. Doing really good. First hoglet overnight. So like when I'm putting stuff here, it's actually this overnight here. And when I do this evening shift, it's this one. Bramble feeding well. Nettle needs a little encouragement. Baths and cage cleans. The squirrels are getting a little busy. Nettle improving. Both weigh-ins on track. Rowan is a escape artist. Fletcher is almost ready. And then down here, farmer's market, landlord follow-up, post office supplies, you know, that kind of stuff. I did keep the schedule the exact same, so there isn't any deviation from that. No vacations during this time, so that's just the story for this. So the day before, Fletcher has a release assessment, and the AM/PM crew did that, and they're going to say goodbye. So I did the release assessment the day before, and then the next day, I went to watch the release at the field edge, and it was, you know, really cool to see him taking off. And then the kits are still doing well, and so are the hoglets, both gaining. And then had a day off, went to the dentist and farmer's market and errands and stuff. And then came back, and the kittens are showing kits. I believe they're kittens is what I looked up. Squirrel kits are foraging, showing more active. They're 7 weeks now. They're getting ready. Nettle and Bramble both feeding strongly at 4 weeks. And Rowan's being a troublemaker. But you'll see something with Rowan here in a little bit. Nothing bad, nothing sad happens during any of this. All doing well, cleaned all enclosures, which I'm sure is like almost a daily thing of cleaning that up. So, and then this is my actual birthday. And because this is a version of me, I couldn't like just overlook it, right? So I had a gathering here and some dinner with friends for my birthday on my off day, but I still had to do laundry and that kind of stuff. But I did want to note it here. It's very low key, and that's kind of how I like it. So, and on these, as I kind of mentioned, I have the days of the week in different positions here, and I was trying to see like what would work best. This one, it's hard to see at the bottom, but it does have a little bit more room on the top. This one here, it's a little less context because I thought I would write more down here. I really thought, because of like the 3 stack, I thought there would be more lists or something down here, but then I kind of shifted it. So it didn't quite work the same. But I think if there was I think I might want to revisit this 3 row layout, because I do have a bunch of strip stickers, and I think I want to try this again. It just, when you marry the persona and the layout, it turns a little different. So here we have, this kind of made almost the most sense of having them here. It's like here worked best. So as the story continues, Hazel Pip foraging confidently, was missing that N. Rowan a bit behind. Hoglets are doing well. And then they're all kind of attacking a hazelnut. Who's going to crack it first? The kits are. And then Hazel was the first due to her namesake. And then they're all kind of getting in there. But they're discussing when they'll be released. Bramble and Nettle close to solids at 5 weeks here. And then everything is going really well, but they're all kind of waking up early because they're getting stronger. They're playing more. Everything's good signs. And so, yeah, solids and things, cracking and nuts, foraging, like these are all like really good things for, because you want them to remain wild and be able to go back out and get their own food. And this was the page where I had layered all those small little stickers together, those little tiny strips, to kind of form extra strip, not washi strip, but strips there. Although this actually might have been the best. This gave the most room here because I was using this almost as a little diary. Now, the other part of this is that obviously this is not the notes that the whole sanctuary is using, right? There's a plethora of notes and paperwork to keep track of these animals in the sanctuary itself and have to do with handovers. This I envisioned as something that I wanted to remember how the animals were doing when I wanted to look back on this. And it's almost, like if you had kids or friends or, wanted to keep diaries around them. So we have a release assessment, and they decided that Rowan was staying another week, and that the hoglets were on solids, and then they release Hazel and Pip. And a little sad because Rowan had to stay, but they released him in an area not too far away. And anything down here. And then I had a day off, and then a bat pup was handed over in the morning. They named him Moth, and he was 2 weeks. But in this instance, some of the bats can be very, very delicate, and so they called in a specialist for this one. And so a specialist showed up, and then we, us as other workers there, watched pretty intensely. It wasn't like the first time, because they are a very common, they're a tiny, I'm sure it was like tiny, like teeny, that's probably like full size, probably teeny, tiny, to feed and everything. And I think that's the type of bat that we actually have that flies out our window here, scooping up a bunch of mosquitoes right by the canal here. And I love watching it. It doesn't come all the time, and I haven't checked lately. It was in the summer to fall that we were seeing it. So I don't think we saw it as much in the spring. Sometimes it's like 3 or 4 a.m. when we see them, and we're just not awake there. So, I just said, learning how to feed and reading up and reading guides because I hadn't experienced as much. Got to do 1 syringe, but then Rowan was really anxious to see his siblings, was doing really well just in the few days. So they reevaluated and decided to release him the next day. Hoglets were at 6 weeks, so they are like getting really ready. They're getting close, but not quite yet. So that release assessment probably would come in like early August. And then Moth is stabilizing. Another specialist came to swap because you can't have just someone on 24 hours at a time. And then, Nettle and Bramble should go next week. Rowan released this morning, and we may have seen his siblings come and find him. So the squirrels are actually the red squirrels. I should have mentioned that in the beginning because I've always wanted to see a red squirrel. I haven't seen one, but they are very common in the Lake District there. I'm trying to think if we actually did see one in that area. I don't think we did because I think I would have remembered. We did see, certain birds and things there, but and I have yet to see a hedgehog. They're here towards they're more in gardens here, people who have, actually a much larger garden, and they put, water out for them here. I would love to see a red squirrel here, but they are very rare here. They're more in the UK from what I understand. So, and that kind of goes into August. Like some of the other months before, I wanted to lead it into something like really positive into the next month. And this is like, being able to release Moth and seeing that journey, and then having the hoglets like just about ready, and knowing that Rowan is probably with his siblings, just kind of that whole vibe of, upswing. And the summer months, can be busy, especially like early spring when there's a lot more little animals around. So anyway, that's what I kind of put together for the month of July. And I am just realizing like I didn't put anything here. And so I might kind of go back to that. But I was trying to get inspired by like what is here. And this kind of, the statue kind of brings this, well, it's kind of a Greek statue looking, but it's more like a British garden to me. And also tomatoes and some of the blooms of the summer. But there's this graph paper in the back, and something of that kind of spoke to, you know, you'll probably have a lot of graph paper paperwork to do measurements and to do feeding schedules and to do, you know, all kinds of tracking in the sanctuary itself. I love the concept of a sanctuary, as you know. It's in the name of all my things. I just don't know what I would track on here. So if I do put something here, I will cover it in the next video. But there were definitely like enough here that I just want to, yeah, I don't know what I want to do there, especially. I mean, I filled out all the other ones, and I do like how they all kind of feel different, but I don't want to, I mean, I guess I could do the animals, like when they came in and when they left. Let me try doing that real quick, and yeah, I'll be right back. So I quickly put them on together here because I realized I could put all of the animals on here and how they overlapped and when they were released. And I actually kind of like how this turned out. I started freehanding it a little, and then I'm like, no, I need a ruler. And it definitely turned out better than that, and then just hand doing the lines. And these are my other colors of my friction pens, and they are a little dry, so I had to kind of go over them a little bit. I haven't used them for a while. I used to use them a lot for financial stuff, but honestly, here in the Netherlands, things got simpler here, so I'm not tracking as much. So yeah, I like how I can see like the overlap of different animals here and when animals showed up, keeping it simple. But it was something I would definitely, if I worked there, I would want to see, you know, and kind of revisit upon, and doing stuff in the village and keeping things, you know, or city. I mean, they do have, Keswick's close to a lot of the, it's kind of one of the bases for the Lake District there, and that's where we stayed. It reminds me a lot of like where I am. I think it's a little bit like where I live here in the Netherlands. It's kind of like the same size of city, but we're so close to like Harlem and Amsterdam. So we're just like really close to everything, but it's kind of a similar feel, only Keswick's just like out there. I mean, probably Keswick's smaller, probably. But anyway, sorry, I had to kind of reflect upon that because, I mean, it's been 11 years since we visited, but also I have to like pinch myself to kind of think about where I am right now. So anyway, wanted to show this. I'm really happy how this turned out. I think, as I said, I do want to revisit this kind of 3-row feeling here and kind of do it a little differently next time. And I'm really happy that I had the stickers that I did. I had these two here and then a bunch of strips, and then I had exactly 5 to put in just the corner here, and I left the biggest one for here at the end. So you can do a lot with just a little. I do know these days of the week can help a lot too. I don't think I would buy any more. I think because I'm using them so much in this one, I would, you know, in the future, I probably wouldn't. And yeah, I just love how this project is coming along. And I'm still contemplating putting that for December there. And so it's on to August. And this one is going to be a bit more traditional to what the stickers are showing here. A lot of travel. And I do have quite a few stickers for this kit. It's going to be really pretty. I love the stickers that I have left, and it'll only be 4 weeks since we're kind of into this one here. Yeah, and it'll actually end. So it'll be a nice clean split going into September. So yeah, that's how things are going. And I have noticed that June was in June, July is in July here. We've, had a loss in our family, had to delay some things. I do like that I can just kind of come back and pick this up whenever. And I would like to kind of get through this though. I'd like to finish this up by September-ish. And I think I can do that. I think it takes, it takes a long time to do, but it was nicer with this to not have to show like all the stickers being put down. Next one I might, just because it's going to be very sticker heavy. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let me know what you thought. If the animal ages and things are just not accurate, it's kind of fuzzy. I have to say, I'm not an expert at this. It's approximate. It's some quick research that I did in the afternoon and not 6 to 8 years of experience in this realm. So, yeah, it's for dreaming, it's for imagining. And to me, this again roots down into, as a child, what would I dream to be and what could I kind of imagine? I kind of imagine, because there's so much kind of going on in detail here, this would be more of a teenage dream instead of like if I'm 6 or 8. I don't know. Just maybe that's a little far-fetched, because yeah, you can get more detailed when you're a teenager than when you're a kid. But I don't know. There's something very connected with this. I never imagine it quite exactly this way, but I love that it just ties together with a lot of my loves and what I've been looking at recently, and it ties back to my I actually grew up in a pretty remote area, and so we did have a lot of animals around us. It was the U.S. So yeah, we would come across skunks and porcupines, and I think there were some bobcats on the hill, but nothing. And I think I was finding frogs and birds that we wanted to try to rescue, but we just couldn't. I did kind of remember some sad moments from my little childhood. Like I would have been 5 during some of those that, that I don't know if my parents knew to call somebody, or they just knew that the animal was too far gone or something. I don't know. But I don't think I actually toyed with being a vet tech at all. I think my sister did. But I think maybe toyed with it a little bit and then realized, oh, you have to deal with the whole cycle, a life cycle of an animal when you are dealing with this. I'm sure there was plenty of, in this scenario in a sanctuary, you are dealing with a lot of that life cycle. And this is just not highlighting it or going there. And I'm sure there was, some sad moments too. So I will leave it there. Let me know what you think. What do you think of using the timeline still? It's like I was just so glued to the timeline. I just couldn't ignore it. Would you have done something different? What is a way that I could focus on these 3 horizontal sections, these rows in a month to come here, that I could really ignore those hourly? I think I really have to think about what I'm doing to not be shift work, right? It would be something that I do the same every single time so that I don't have to track it, is what I'm thinking. So let me know what you thought of all this. If you enjoyed this, consider liking and subscribing on the way out. It's free and it really helps. And you'll get to find out what happens in September, October, November, December. There's only 4 left. After August. Sorry, 5 left. I'm like, that doesn't add up. But we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm already envisioning August. So I'm like, yeah, then there's only 4 more after that. Yeah, if you have a subscription, you will find out about those. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye.